Hi, my name is Kevin Tatum, and I am answering some questions regarding the Space Shuttle Challenger. That was in 1986. The Challenger exploded about 100 seconds after it made liftoff. One of the problems that happened was there was these O-rings, and these rings and the putty were supposed to fill the hole so that gas could not escape the tanks that were the boosters, so that the rocket could get through the our Earth's gravity. And they had also never launched at the cold, how cold the temperature was that day. Lots of people expressed their concerns. The engineers for the tanks in Utah, Andy McDonald for the actual NASA itself. There was many different people in many different capacities. A couple outside pressures were this. Number one, I think people were scared that they were going to lose their jobs because there was a lot of pressure. At one point, one of the managers turned to one of the engineers, who was a mid-level manager, and said, "Take off your engineering hat and put on your management hat." Well, I think he did have his management hat on because he was, taking care of the safety of those individuals, not to mention I assume at the time, billions of dollars put into this system over a time period to try to get us to outer space. Now, there was a lot of other things too that were pressure. Europe had a space station that was trying to get some people up. Russia had a launch days after what we were trying to do. There was all these outside pressures, and instead of making the correct decision, they made the wrong one, and people died. What did NASA do wrong? In my opinion, NASA let managers with really extensive engineering degrees make decisions that they normally wouldn't have been equipped to make, because they would have relied upon the engineering department, really, to say, hey, this is what should have happened or shouldn't have happened. Do we go, do we not go, right? And I think one of the things that should have happened too is, I think, like, the second question here is that Roger, and I think I can't pronounce his name, but it starts with a B, his last name, and should he have done something? And it says to keep in mind that he had a family, and he had, late in life it would be difficult to find a job. But I think when people's lives are at risk, I think you have the responsibility to stand up and say, no, I'm not going to stand for this. And even though in the end they made an adjustment and said, oh yeah, it's okay, but we're not going to sign any paperwork that says we think it's okay. I think the problem is that when people's lives are in your hands, and as an engineer you take a form of an oath, you have a responsibility to step up to the plate. And I think that if you walked, in hindsight, I know it's 2020, and so it's easy for us to all stand here and say this is what should have been done, but if you would have walked and just said, I'm not okay with this, and then the space station blew up, and then he went and tried to get a job, and he expressed, hey, I told them that they shouldn't have done that, and then look what happened. I think even though that's a tragic situation, it gives him some clout. So I think doing the right thing, it sometimes takes a little while to come back to you, but I think it always comes back around. The third question was, let me just look at it real quick. The third question was, do I intend on having any engineering experience, and how would I react? Well, I don't intend in my future to have any engineering experience, whether it's in computers, but I do have my construction, I do have a contractor's license, and so we handle projects all over the place, and I have the opportunity to cut corners all the time if I really wanted to, and save a penny here and save a little bit here. Number one, it's bad practice, bad work practice. Number two, someone could fall through a floor, or get hurt, or fall out a window, or all these different kinds of things. And the last thing that I want people to remember me by is that I intentionally hurt someone. Now, mistakes happen, and I think this was a mistake. The Challenger was a mistake, and I think that in the future, I think NASA has learned from it. I'm sure they have, and I know that that's not something that's not a road I want to go down, because it's a slippery slope. Thank you for your time.